but from what I saw in critical race theory, it's like born off of this it's born from postmodernism, which is born from modernism, which is born from this whole idea like, oh, the church is at the center of the universe and they have the answer to all your questions. So modernism is like, no, the church doesn't know the answer to everything. Like, all right, like there's an objective truth, and as we just talk to each other and progress, we're gonna exponentially get better at everything. Period. And then postmodernism is like, no, actually, that's not true because everybody comes from things from different backgrounds, and there's not an objective truth. What's right for you is wrong for somebody else. One person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter, blase, blase. And in terms of theories, and then so they're just like, well, no, like you can't. There's not an objective thing. It's like it's all subjective based off of whoever you're talking to. It's like, all right, fair enough. And I was like, oh, cool. Like we're moving forward from this. And then, but from that angle, they're saying that, oh, well, since nothing is real or nothing is concrete as I understand it,
yeah,
then the truth or what I determine as reality is whatever the fuck I feel like it. So if I think that you're a bad person because you're white, then that's truth and that's what it is. Critical race theory is born.
it's more. I think it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, but it's like more so. It's like it's simplifying history and like it's like that racism is baked into the public institutions as they stand right now. So it's like you could talk about the racism that like Charlemagne's like piece on Hoover was fantastic, but if you're gonna depict that like, oh well, because Hoover was such a terrible person, and anybody else who ever works at that institution ever is also inherently racist.
Well, that's like saying a police chief that was with the Ku Klux Klan in 1940, and then there's a white police chief in the same town now.
He must be racist. Of course.
But they're two different people in two different times of period.
Two different families.
Yeah.
even. So it's like, it's very...
He might not even be from the area. It could be like relocated from like California.
from Oakland to California. but exactly. That's what critical race theory comes across from that standpoint, where it's like, all right, well, like, because these things are institutionally like this, and then it simplifies it. Like the more you simplify it down and at a lower level, then the harder it is for people to. That's what people are really fighting against. Like I think critical race theory, like as it stands on itself, like you could talk about it, you could agree, you could disagree, and it's existed for a long time from what I've seen in college campuses and in law schools and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, that seems really interesting field of study. But when you simplify it all the way down to the grade school level, you bring.
Well, that's when you're seeing people like separating people in classes.
And that's when they've simplified.
Black kids shouldn't have to sit next to white kids because the white kids might say something. I don't know.
And that's when they simplified it to you're bad because you're white. That's where that came from. Not because that's what critical race theory is.
Or you're black and you might not be able to handle what this white person would say.
Yeah. Like, oh,
you can't handle your emotions
you suffered,
as well as the white kid.
Yeah, you suffered all this trauma, so like you're coming from a backlash of this, and it's like
you're like, I'm 7.
Yeah, like you're like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, if a 3-year-old falls down and like everyone rushes over, like, are you okay? The baby's gonna start crying. But if it falls down, like, hey, walk it off. And like, my knee hurts. It's like, all right, walk it off. It's like, all right, you'll be able to walk away. But if he has a fractured knee, it's like, oh shit. Like, okay, like we're gonna look into it. But if like for the most part, the effect of your mentality is gonna be able to overcome minor injuries versus, and the same thing is the opposite, also true. You could adapt to thinking that things are worse than they actually are. Mm-hmm. So if you think that race plays a role in how you interact with your 5-year-old, it's taught in 4th and 5th graders. It's like, so your 9, 10-year-old black friend versus your 9, 10-year-old white friend. Those interactions are different, not because you guys come from different households or are taught different things or look at things a different way. It's because they're white and you're black, so you're a victim and they're exploiting you. So that's what it is. And unless you are actively fighting against racism,
this is
you are racist.
This is gonna get.
That's what it's simplified to.
I know.
It's so much more. Critical race is so much more than that, but what it's simplified to, the pushback that people are really having against, is against that thought. The simplified thought process that, you know, you're a bad person or you're a good person.